Hey everyone, and welcome to our deep dive. Today we're tackling Tony Buzan's Use Your Head.
Oh, yeah, this one's a classic.
It really is, and it's all about unlocking the awesome power of your mind.
I love that.
Yeah, Buzan believes that each of us has incredible mental potential just waiting to be unleashed.
Like we're all walking around with these incredible superpowers we don't even know how to use.
That's a great way to put it. We'll be exploring how to read faster and more efficiently, how to enhance your memory and tap into your creative genius through something called mind mapping.
Mind mapping is so cool. It's like a whole new way of thinking and organizing information.
Absolutely. And we'll be using Buzan's work as our guide.
Perfect.
But ultimately, this deep dive is about inspiring you, the listener, to explore your own mental capabilities.
To really see just how far you can go.
Exactly. So let's dive in. Buzan kicks things off with this mind-blowing comparison.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
He says that the number of potential connections in your brain
Oh, wow.
is astronomically larger than the estimated number of atoms in the entire universe.
No way, really?
Yeah. We're talking about a number with 800 zeros after it. It's hard to even imagine.
That is mind-boggling.
It really is. And to put that into perspective, Dr. Piotr Anakin, who dedicated his life to understanding how the brain processes information, called this vast potential degrees of freedom.
Degrees of freedom.
Yeah. He calculated that the possible combinations of thought, the melodies our brain can play,
Oh, wow.
are more numerous than could be written on a line stretching over 10.5 million kilometers.
That is just incredible, the sheer scale of what our brains are capable of.
I know, it's amazing.
Uh-huh.
But here's the thing. Buzan argues that we haven't been taught how to tap into all this potential.
It's like we've been given these incredible sports cars but never learned how to drive them properly.
Exactly. It's like we're stuck in first gear.
And missing out on all the speed and power.
Right. Buzan says that our traditional education system often overlooks the fundamentals of memory learning and how to really maximize our brain power.
It makes you wonder what we're all missing out on.
It really does. And, one of the first things Buzan dives into is this concept of left brain versus right brain dominance.
Okay, the classic left brain, right brain.
Yeah, the left side is our logic center, all about language and analysis.
The stuff we usually associate with academics.
Exactly. But the right side is our creative hub bursting with imagination and intuition.
And most of us tend to favor one side over the other.
Right. But Buzan doesn't see these two sides as rivals competing for control.
Oh, interesting.
He uses Leonardo da Vinci as a prime example of how developing both sides of the brain can lead to extraordinary achievements.
Ah, Da Vinci, the ultimate Renaissance man.
Exactly. He was a master of art, science, and invention.
A true polymath.
And Buzan believes we all have that potential within us.
To be like Da Vinci.
Not necessarily to paint the Mona Lisa, but to tap into the full spectrum of our brain power.
That's a powerful idea.
It is. So if you're listening right now, ask yourself this. What amazing talents are you neglecting by favoring one side of your brain over the other?
It's something we don't often think about.
We get stuck in routines and limit ourselves without even realizing it.
It's like only using a few crayons when you have a whole box of colors waiting to be explored.
Exactly. Now let's shift gears and talk about reading, something most of us do every single day.
Okay, reading, one of my favorite things.
Mine too. But Buzan argues that we can be way more efficient readers.
More efficient? How so?
Well, he busts a lot of myths about reading speed along the way.
Like what?
For example, many people think our eyes glide smoothly across the page.
Right, like a smooth, continuous movement.
But in reality, our eyes make these rapid jumps called saccades.
Saccades.
Yeah, and they pause briefly to take in information in what are called fixations.
So it's more like a jerky stop-and-go motion.
Exactly. And here's another myth. You don't have to read one word at a time.
You don't?
Nope. We can actually train our eyes to take in larger chunks of text using something Buzan calls expanded focus.
Expanded focus.
Interesting. He recommends using a visual guide, like a finger or pen, to help expand your focus and take in more information with each pause.
It's like upgrading from a narrow spotlight to a wide-angle lens.
Exactly. Allowing you to see a much bigger picture with each glance.
I can see how that would speed things up.
It definitely does. Buzan even talks about some advanced techniques like high-speed perception practice and metronome training.
Wow, taking it to the next level.
But even just mastering that expanded focus can make a huge difference.
Yeah, I bet.
So if you're listening right now, ask yourself, how much time could you save and how much more could you learn if you applied this technique to your reading?
That's a great question to ponder.
Think about all the books you could devour, all the articles you could digest,
Right.
just because you learned how to read more efficiently.
It's like unlocking a whole new world of knowledge.
Yeah, and it leads us to another crucial aspect of mental performance: memory.
Memory, the foundation of learning.
Exactly. And it's not just about cramming information into our brains like we're stuffing a suitcase.
No, it's about making connections.
It's about creating meaningful connections, weaving those pieces of information together like a tapestry.
I like that analogy.
Buzan really emphasizes that memory is an active process.
Not just passive storage.
Right. And to understand how our memory works, he even uses a graph.
Oh, a graph.
Yeah, to show how naturally our ability to recall information declines over time.
Oh, the forgetting curve.
Exactly. And it's a pretty steep drop-off if we don't do anything to retain what we've learned.
So what can we do?
Well, the good news is strategic review can be a game changer.
Strategic review. Tell me more.
Buzan suggests reviewing material just before you're about to forget it.
Just before. Interesting.
It's a technique called spaced repetition.
Spaced repetition. I've heard of that.
It's like watering a plant. You wouldn't just water it once and expect it to thrive.
Right, you need to give it regular doses of care and attention.
Exactly. So instead of last-minute cramming,
Which never really works.
you review the material shortly after you learn it, then again a day later, a week later, and so on.
So each time you revisit the information, those neural connections get stronger.
That's right. And the information becomes more deeply ingrained.
It's like building a solid foundation for your mental house.
I love that analogy. Now, beyond spaced repetition, Buzan introduces these really cool memory tricks called mnemonics.
Mnemonics? Those sound fun.
They're like little mental shortcuts that help you remember things.
Sometimes they get a bad rap.
I know, right? People think they're just party tricks.
But they can be really effective if you use them right.
Absolutely. They tap into the natural way our brains work, helping us create vivid and memorable associations.
Making information stick more easily.
Exactly. One example Buzan uses is remembering a grocery list with the number rhyme system.
Okay, the number rhyme system. What's that?
Well, you associate numbers with rhyming words
Okay.
and then link those words to the items on your list.
So instead of trying to remember milk, bread,
You
bananas,
could think 1 is bun, 2 is shoe, 3 is tree.
and then create a story or image that connects those words to the item.
Right, like imagine a bun soaking in a puddle of milk, a loaf of bread shaped like a shoe, and a banana tree growing out of your refrigerator.
Okay, I can see how that would be memorable.
The sillier and more vivid the image, the better.
It's like turning memorization into a game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the number rhyme system is just one example. There's a whole world of mnemonics out there,
Like what?
like the link system, the pig system, and even something called the memory palace.
The memory palace? That sounds intriguing.
It is. We'll dive into that a bit later, but for now, let's shift gears again and talk about note-taking.
Note-taking, essential for learning.
Absolutely. But Buzan really shakes things up in this area. He introduces this revolutionary concept called mind mapping.
Mind mapping, I've heard of that, but I'm not sure I fully understand it.
Most of us are used to taking notes in a linear way.
Yeah, sentences, bullet points, lists.
But Buzan argues that this doesn't actually reflect how our brains work.
So our brains aren't linear thinkers.
Not at all. Our brains are much more like complex, interconnected webs.
Constantly making associations and jumping between ideas.
Exactly. And that's where mind maps come in. They mirror this natural, nonlinear way of thinking.
Okay, so instead of a boring list,
You have this vibrant, colorful, almost spiderweb-like diagram.
with the main idea in the center,
Right, and branches shooting out in all directions.
each representing a key concept.
And Buzan includes some fantastic examples in his book,
Like what?
like a mind map he created on the brain,
On the brain.
highlighting how understanding our brain's functions can unlock our potential.
That's meta.
It is. And because mind maps engage both sides of the brain.
They're much more effective than just plain old notes.
Absolutely. They
Yeah.
combine words, images, logic, and creativity.
Making the information more memorable and helping you see the big picture.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
mind maps aren't just for taking notes.
They can be used for all sorts of things.
Brainstorming, problem-solving, planning projects, even delivering speeches.
Wow, they're really versatile.
They are. So think about this. Can you imagine replacing your old note-taking habits with the dynamic power of mind maps?
It's a whole new way of thinking and learning.
It really is. And that's just the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be diving deeper into mind mapping and other incredible techniques in the next part of our deep dive.
Can't wait. Welcome back. We've been exploring some awesome ways to unleash your mental potential.
Yeah, like really getting the most out of our amazing brains.
And now we're going to shift gears a bit and talk about Buzan's Organic Study Method.
Organic study method, that sounds interesting.
It's all about approaching learning in a way that really works with how our brains naturally function.
So instead of just like cracking open a book on page 1 and plowing through it.
Buzan suggests a more strategic approach.
Okay, more strategic how?
He calls it the three-step process: overview, preview, in-view.
Overview, preview, in view. Got it.
It might sound a little unconventional, but it's all about setting yourself up for success.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Think of it like scouting out a new city before you actually move there.
Oh, okay, I like that analogy.
You wouldn't just show up and wander around aimlessly.
No, you'd want to get a lay of the land.
Exactly. See the major landmarks.
Maybe even talk to some locals.
Get a feel for the place.
So the overview stage is like getting the big picture before diving into the detail.
Exactly, before you even start reading.
You take a few minutes to kind of flip through the book.
Glance at the headings, check out any diagrams or images,
Just kind of get a feel for the overall structure.
the key themes, the main arguments.
It's like looking at a jigsaw puzzle before you start putting it together.
Perfect analogy. You wouldn't just grab random pieces and hope for the best.
You want to see the picture on the box first.
Find some of those edge pieces.
Get a sense of the overall image.
And the preview stage is where you take a closer look at those puzzle pieces, so to speak.
Okay, so you're zooming in a bit more.
Right. You focus on the beginnings and ends of paragraphs, sections, and chapters.
Because that's where you often find the most important information.
The topic sentences, concluding thoughts.
The key takeaways.
And here's a pro tip. Always check out the summary results and conclusion sections first.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Think of it like getting a sneak peek at the ending of a movie.
I love that. It's like getting a spoiler alert, but in a good way.
Exactly. You'll know what to look for as you watch the rest of the film.
So the in-view stage is where we actually start reading, right?
Yes. But even here, Buzan encourages us to be more active and selective in our reading.
Active and selective.
It's not about reading every single word.
Really?
He actually encourages you to skip over sections that seem particularly difficult or irrelevant to your goals.
Wait, he's telling us to skip parts of the book.
I know it sounds counterintuitive,
We're so conditioned to think we have to read every single word.
but think about how often you've struggled through a dense paragraph,
Yeah.
only to realize later it wasn't even that important.
Yeah, that happens to me all the time.
By being selective, you can save time and energy and actually improve your comprehension.
By focusing on the most crucial points.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's about being more mindful of our reading habits.
And learning to be more discerning about what we choose to focus on.
This whole method is like a breath of fresh air, especially for people who feel overwhelmed by the sheer volume of information out there.
It's about being more efficient and effective with your reading.
And Buzan also emphasizes taking notes throughout the process.
Underlining, highlighting, and of course, mind mapping.
Speaking of mind maps, I'm curious to hear more about how they fit into this whole organic study method.
They're a perfect complement.
They seem like they would be.
Mind maps are a fantastic way to capture those key insights and connections as you're reading.
It's like building this dynamic, growing tapestry of information,
I love that visual.
thread by thread as you move through the book,
And as you build your mind map, you're strengthening those neural pathways
improving your recall.
and making that information truly your own.
Now, no matter how efficiently we read or how masterfully we create mind maps, if we don't actually retain the information, what's the point, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that brings us back to the importance of review.
Review, review, review.
We've talked about spaced repetition as a powerful technique for combating forgetting.
Right, like watering a plant regularly.
Exactly. But Buzan also offers some fascinating insights into how we review
Okay, like what?
and how it relates to this popular belief that mental ability declines with age.
Wait, are you saying that our brains don't necessarily have to get slower and fuzzier as we get older?
Buzan argues that the decline in mental performance often attributed to aging might actually be due to years of inadequate learning and review techniques.
So it's not about age, it's about how we've been using our brains all along.
Exactly. It's like any other muscle in your body.
If you don't use it, you lose it.
And Buzan points to examples of individuals who have remained mentally active and engaged throughout their lives, and whose cognitive abilities have not only remained sharp.
But in some cases, even surpass those of younger individuals.
It's never too late to start exercising those mental muscles.
That's inspiring. So beyond spaced repetition, what are some other memory techniques that Buzan recommends?
Well, we briefly touched on mnemonics earlier,
Right, those little memory tricks.
but there's a whole world of them out there just waiting to be explored.
I'm ready to dive in. Welcome back to our deep dive. We're in the final stretch of exploring Tony Buzan's Use Your Head.
It's been quite a journey so far.
It really has. We've covered so much ground, but I want to circle back to mind mapping for a bit.
Mind mapping is such a versatile tool.
It really is. I'm curious to hear more about how to actually use them in real-life situations.
Well, imagine you're preparing a speech on, let's say, the future of space travel.
Okay.
If you try to organize your thoughts in a typical linear fashion, one point leading to the next, it can feel really restrictive,
It wouldn't really capture the vastness of space,
right? Mind maps, on the other hand, allow your thoughts to flow more organically.
mimicking how our brains actually work.
Exactly. Instead of a rigid list, you have this dynamic, multidimensional map.
Expanding outward from your central idea.
It's like the difference between a flat, two-dimensional map and a 3D globe.
Oh, I like that.
The globe gives you a much richer, more complete understanding of the world.
So with a mind map, I can see the relationships between different ideas.
You can zoom in on specific areas, explore new connections that might have been hidden in a linear format.
So if I'm brainstorming ideas for a new project,
You could start with the project name in the center.
and then branch out with key areas like goals, resources, timelines, potential challenges.
And as new ideas come to mind,
You just add them to the appropriate branches
using keywords, images, different colors.
to make the map more engaging and memorable.
You can also use arrows and symbols to show connections between different ideas.
It's like creating a visual representation of your thought process.
And because mind maps are so flexible,
You can easily add, remove, or rearrange ideas as your thinking evolves.
don't be afraid to get messy.
Oh, good, because mine usually are.
They're tools for thinking, exploring, generating ideas. Embrace the chaos and see what emerges.
Now, mind maps aren't just for brainstorming, are they?
Not at all. They can be used for note-taking, planning, problem-solving, even delivering speeches.
Speaking of speeches, how do you actually translate a mind map into a linear presentation or a written document?
It's easier than you might think. Once you've created your mind map, you can easily identify the key points.
And the natural flow of your argument or presentation.
Exactly. Just number the branches in the order you want to present them, and voila, you have your outline.
It's like having a roadmap for your thoughts.
And you can use that roadmap to craft a clear, concise, and engaging presentation.
Now let's talk about some more advanced memory techniques. We've already touched on the number rhyme system.
But one of the most powerful techniques is the memory palace, also known as the method of loci.
The memory palace. That sounds almost magical.
It's an ancient technique that's been used by memory champions for centuries.
Wow. So it's tried and true.
It's incredibly effective. It's based on the principle that our brains are really good at remembering spatial information.
Okay, spatial information like locations and directions.
Exactly. You start by picturing a familiar place.
Like my house.
Your house, your office, a park you love, and you create a mental journey through that space, stopping at specific locations along the way.
Okay, so I'm picturing my childhood home. I walk in the front door, turn left into the living room, then head down the hallway to the kitchen.
Perfect. Now let's say you need to remember a grocery list. Milk, bread, bananas. You'd mentally place those items at specific locations along your journey.
So I might imagine a giant carton of milk spilling on my front doormat,
Then a loaf of bread sitting on the living room couch.
and a bunch of bananas hanging from the kitchen chandelier.
The key is to engage your imagination and create a story that connects those items to the locations.
The more vivid and unusual the image, the better.
Exactly. Then, when you need to recall the list, you simply take a mental walk through your memory palace.
Revisiting each location and retrieving the item you placed there.
It's like turning your memory into a game.
And the more you practice, the more elaborate your memory palaces can become.
You can even create multiple memory palaces for different subjects or areas of knowledge.
This is incredible. The possibilities are endless. Now, I've always been curious about speed reading. Is it really possible to read significantly faster without sacrificing comprehension?
It absolutely is. It all goes back to understanding how our eyes and brains work together during the reading process.
Right, those rapid jumps and pauses.
Speed reading techniques are designed to optimize those movements and train your brain to process information more efficiently.
So it's not just about moving your eyes faster across the page.
It's about training your brain to take in larger chunks of text and make connections more quickly.
One key technique is to minimize subvocalization.
That little voice in our heads that reads along as we read silently.
Right.
By reducing or eliminating subvocalization, we can significantly increase our reading speed.
It's like removing a bottleneck in the information processing stream.
Exactly. And there are other techniques like using a visual pacer to guide your eyes,
Okay.
practicing previewing and skimming to quickly identify key information, and even learning to read vertically instead of horizontally.
Right. Wow, there's a lot more to speed reading than I realized.
It's like learning a whole new way to interact with text.
It takes practice and dedication, but with effort, you can significantly increase your reading speed.
And unlock a whole new world of knowledge and information.
This has been such an incredible journey exploring the power of our minds.
It's amazing what we're capable of.
Tony Buzan's Use Your Head is truly an invitation to explore the vast landscape of our own minds.
And to discover the incredible things we can achieve.
So to everyone listening out there, we encourage you to keep exploring, keep learning, and keep pushing the boundaries of your own mental potential.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.